Hi, I'm Jason, and this is the Cultural Breakdown. We've got word in the past that the critics really liked the new Mission Impossible movie, but now we're seeing the reviews start to come in, and so far it's actually been pretty good for the new Tom Cruise journey. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 launches with near perfect Rotten Tomatoes score, and this is also comparing it to the other Mission Impossible movies in the franchise, including the best one that had so far was Mission Impossible Fallout, the last one, which got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this new Mission Impossible Fallout has a 98%. If I'm going to keep in mind, though, if I'm going to be completely fair, though, early critic reviews are usually critics who were invited to early screenings, and sometimes they're more favorable to the studios who do that to them. But that's not always the case. We saw that recently with Dial of Destiny. The early critics were invited there, and they gave it pretty mediocre reviews. So it's not always the case, but I will say they're probably going to lean more towards the positive. And also those other movies that it was listed, like Mission Impossible Fallout, that's been around for a little while, so we've seen more critics. So usually they're a bit higher at first and then they kind of sink lower. So I don't know if this is going to stay at 98%, but so far that is a good sign for it. And one of the things that they're really praising about with this movie is just the practical effects and stunt work that they were using. Paramount actually released this earlier today that was talking about a train sequence that they have in the movie where they actually built this train to go on these real train tracks just so they can make it as practical as they can. And when I say build it, that means like, yeah, they actually built the train. They built different train cars and stuff like that from the interior, exterior. I mean, this is a real train that they made for this movie. And as a result, you can actually do whatever they wanted with it. I mean, you can have people on it, you can have rigs up to it, and one of the coolest things about it is just the fact that they actually crashed this train for this sequence too. Yeah, they said they had to have a bunch of cameras set up on this and then all rolling at once from different angles just to make sure they get the right stuff that they need for it, because you really can't reset this thing. So let me check this out. Oh, that's so awesome though. You don't really see stuff like that in movies nowadays. So it is pretty cool that they're going to that kind of effort for this. But I'm not a person who just thinks like, oh, well, practical is always better than CG or whatever. But there is something to say when they are willing to go to this kind of effort just for the spectacle of it. And I think Tom Cruise understands that. And that's because you have to do something special to get audiences to theaters, because we're learning now with a lot of the box office flops coming out, like Indiana Jones, that audiences aren't going to automatically come in just because it's a high budget movie. They need to have an incentive, and seeing something like this on the big screen, I think would be pretty cool. But there's a cost to that, and that's around a $300 million budget for this. Now, if I'm going to be fair, COVID delays and other stuff like that did help inflate the budget, but still they have a pretty big budget that they have to contend with. But the early projections are saying on a low note, they could probably bring in around 65 million on the opening weekend, but on a high note, around 90 million. Now, if you compare it to Mission Impossible Fallout, that was around 61.2 million on its opening weekend, and that was the highest earner for the Mission Impossible franchise. And if you jump into Box Office Mojo, it was able to make around 791 million. So just under $800 million in total globally. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, though, probably needs to make around $750 to $800 million to break even on this because of such a high budget on this. But if they start off higher than Fallout and they continue on that trend, it stands to reason that they should be able to make it. And if they get on that high note, then it'll probably be more of a $1 billion movie. And I think that's kind of what they're hoping for with it. I mean, obviously all studios are hoping for that, but I think it's one of those things like they kind of need it to be a $1 billion movie. But fortunately for them, there's a lot of good favor with Tom Cruise in the entertainment industry. I mean, he's even out there promoting other movies, and now you got other people from those movies like Oppenheimer and Barbie, like promoting his stuff out there. So he not only carries good favor amongst the entertainment industry, but he also carries good favor with the audiences, just from the fact that he treats the audience with respect, and he's also willing to do stuff that they haven't seen before. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this, but I do think this is probably going to be a pretty good one. I mean, he has a good track record with action movies, and all the other Mission Impossible movies I think have been pretty good, and they seem to be getting better, or at least they're not getting worse for the bare minimum. So this is something that I actually want to see. Let me know in the comments, do you want to see this movie, or are you just going to sit it out, or maybe check out something else like the Barbie movie or Oppenheimer? Comment below, let me know. And if you like this video, click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.